42-year-old Mostak Ahamed Galib, originally from Bangladesh, has spent over 2 decades studying and living in China. Throughout his journey, he has been captivated by the rapid development of his host country. As a scholar, educator, and keen observer, this articulate and self-assured gentleman has explored the factors behind China's remarkable progress. Drawing on his first-hand experiences and insights, Galib is dedicated to assisting other developing nations in achieving success by learning from the development strategies of the world's second-largest economy. Join us as we delve into his personal journey and uncover the valuable insights he has gained about development and growth. Galib's story began with a pencil.
When I was a child, my parents were particularly concerned about my handwriting. They insisted that it must be neat and beautiful. Therefore, they required me to write with pencils, as this kind of writing utensil would slow down the writing process and result in more aesthetically pleasing characters. I remember there were several types of pencils available then. For some reason, my favorite was a Chinese brand called Zhonghua. Many Chinese children born in the 1980s also used this brand. From this perspective, the first Chinese word I learned was Zhonghua. I didn't know what it meant exactly, but I knew the pencils I used came from China.
And not only pencils. The little Galib, as he grew older, found that many other kinds of stationery, such as those for learning mathematics, also came from China.
This made me gradually realize that many learning-related items were from China. I thought, this country is really impressive. Later, as I grew a bit older and started reading books, around the age of 11 or 12, I found that many children's books in our country were imported from China. The made-in-China books were published by the Foreign Languages Press in Beijing. The books were very beautiful, and I still remember how elegant the characters looked. They even had a pleasant fragrance, and I associated the scent with the smell of China.
All these experiences gradually ingrained in him a good feeling about China, which ultimately led him to come to study in the country after graduating from high school. Already an excellent student in academic performance, he still needed to work hard to obtain an opportunity to study in the country he dreamed of.
At that time, it was very difficult to come to study in China. I remember that only 2 high school graduates from Bangladesh were sent to China for studies, and I was one of them. I was a liberal arts student, and the requirement for me was to score at least 80% in both our country's senior high school entrance exams and university entrance exams. In Bangladesh at that time, only about 10 liberal arts students achieved such scores. After taking our country's exams for studying abroad, only 2 were selected to study in China, and I was one of them.
In August 2002, at the age of 19 years old, the fortunate and aspiring young man began his journey and exploration in China. He flew from the Bangladeshi capital, Dhaka, to Hong Kong and then transferred to Beijing, where he stayed to learn the Chinese language for several months. Now recalling his experience more than 20 years ago, he says great changes have taken place as his time in China coincided with the period during which China underwent rapid economic and social progress.
在北京一段时间以后，因为在后面呢安排我来武汉。
After spending some time in Beijing, I was assigned to study in Wuhan. I took a train from Beijing to Wuhan, departing at noon one day and arriving almost 24 hours later. I remember the scenery along the way. Once we left Beijing, most of the buildings were made of red bricks, and the farmers were working in the fields. Comparing it to now, I often travel from Wuhan to Beijing for work and can return within the same day by high-speed trains. Back then, looking out the train window, I thought, wow, the farmland in China looks just like that in Bangladesh. Farmers were working manually in the fields. Now, agricultural mechanization has advanced significantly. While some farmers still work manually, you can see tractors, vans, and small trucks operating in the fields.
High-speed trains are a distinct feature of China's modern transportation. The country's first high-speed railway, the 120-kilometer Beijing-Tianjin high-speed railway, began operation in 2008. Trains running on it have a design speed of 350 kilometers per hour. As of the end of 2024, the country's high-speed railways amount to 48,000 kilometers, connecting nearly every major city across China. Take the train between Beijing and Wuhan, for example. It only takes just about 4 hours to travel the distance of roughly 1,200 kilometers from the Chinese capital to the city in central China. Galib says the high-speed train is just an epitome of the country's dazzling overall progress made over the past several decades. He says his first-hand experience proves what he previously had heard of what happened in China.
In terms of transportation options, there used to be only green-coated trains, but now there are high-speed trains, and soon there may be even more advanced options. Another change is the greenery along the railway. In the past, there wasn't as much greenery as there is now. I live in the city of Wuhan, Hubei province, which is known as the province of 1,000 lakes. The water quality in the east lake of the city, where I often take walks, has improved noticeably. This is just one small part of the broader changes I've witnessed.
Since the first National Tree Planting Day on March 12, 1979, China has made remarkable strides in afforestation and ecological restoration, especially in recent years. In 2024 alone, Chinese people planted 4.45 million hectares of trees, raising the country's forest coverage to over 25%. From the landscape, economy, and transportation to people's daily lives, the changes in China have been all-encompassing, according to Galib. As a foreign national living in the country, he applauds such improvement.
Another thing I can mention is the train stations. I remember in my early experience in China, public restrooms near train stations or stations of long-haul coaches were not very clean. Now, thanks to the toilet revolution, even in smaller cities or rural areas, public restrooms have improved significantly. I used traditional open-air rural toilets in the past, but I haven't seen them in a long time. These changes are very noticeable and significant.
The toilet revolution refers to a campaign launched by Chinese authorities in 2015 to increase the number and sanitation levels of public toilets across the country and build better private toilets for farmers in villages. Indeed, over the past several decades, great changes have taken place not only within China, but also in its involvement and interaction with the outside world. Since becoming the world's second-largest economy in 2010, the country has deeper, easier, and closer connections with other countries, including Galib's motherland, Bangladesh.
I first came to China in 2002, flying from Dhaka to Hong Kong and then transferring to Beijing. Now, there are multiple direct flights between Dhaka and Chinese mainland cities like Guangzhou, Kunming, and Beijing. This is a significant change.
As a scholar studying China, Galib tries to unlock the secrets behind the country's miraculous development over the past several decades since the launch of reform and opening up policies in 1978. He's discovered that infrastructure construction and overall planning have played a key role in driving such long-term and sustained progress.
China's development spans many areas. A popular Chinese saying goes, "If you want to prosper, build roads first." Of course, the roads here refer to infrastructure, including bridges, railways, and other things. I've lived in Wuhan for many years. Situated in central China, Wuhan is often considered an inland city without a seaport, which many foreigners see as a disadvantage. However, Wuhan has turned this disadvantage into an advantage by improving connectivity with neighboring provinces through railways, the Yangtze River, and highways. The China-Europe freight trains have also enhanced Wuhan's links with foreign cities.
In fact, Wuhan has long been a transportation and economic hub in central China. Launched in 2011, the China-Europe freight rail system transformed land transportation between China and Europe. The inaugural journey covered 11,000 kilometers from the western Chinese city of Chongqing to the German city of Duisburg in just 16 days. This success led to the expansion of routes. Wuhan and several other Chinese cities followed suit soon after and opened routes to European destinations such as Warsaw, Madrid, London, and Moscow. Galib has discovered that there is an underlying principle of China's economic development, that is, to serve the people, or as Chinese officials often say, people-oriented.
The focus is on the people. The primary purpose of infrastructure construction is not just for business. In Bangladesh, we say, if you build a road and no one uses it, the road is meaningless. In China, not only are roads built, but they are also used. Building a road often leads to the development of commercial centers, markets, and other related facilities and services to help improve the living standards of local residents.
He says such comprehensive and long-term vision is a distinct feature of Chinese development.
I think China's development should be studied for its comprehensive planning. Many developing countries often try to imitate Western development models, which are different from that of China. Since the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949, the country has been transformed from an impoverished country to the world's second-largest economy. This achievement is largely due to comprehensive and accurate planning, which I believe is crucial.
Since the founding of the PRC in 1949, China has rolled out and implemented round after round of national 5-year economic and social development plans. Galib says the experience of China's development is a good reference for other developing countries, including his beloved motherland.
Bangladesh is also learning from China. We have built the Padma Bridge. When I return to Bangladesh, I see significant changes, which makes me happy.
He takes the Padma Bridge as a good example of how infrastructure construction can help improve the livelihoods of the Bangladeshi people. Located about 40 kilometers southwest of Dhaka, the Padma Bridge spans the Padma River, a major river in Bangladesh. The 9.8-kilometer bridge, built by a Chinese enterprise, was put into operation in June 2022. Galib says the project is an engineering feat, noting that the Padma River is so wide and powerful that local people compare it to the sea.
Building a bridge over the sea-like river was once thought impossible. The river separates a quarter of Bangladesh's land and about 40 million people from the rest of Bangladesh. Previously, the only way to cross the river was by ferry, which posed significant challenges, especially during bad weather. As a developing country, Bangladesh's economic and medical resources are concentrated in the capital, Dhaka. People from the southwestern region, home to over 40 million people, often need to travel to Dhaka for education, healthcare, and work. Crossing the river was a major obstacle, and ferry accidents sometimes resulted in fatalities.
Galib says the Padma Bridge is a life-changing project for millions of the local people. Bangladeshi authorities have estimated that the bridge would contribute 1.23 percentage points to the country's GDP growth and reduce poverty rates by 0.84 percentage points per year. But for Galib, what matters more are the opportunities the bridge has brought and will bring for individuals.
Many say the Padma Bridge contributes about 1.5% GDP growth for the economy each year. I think this number can't fully capture the bridge's positive impact on local lives. The southwestern region of Bangladesh is suffering from severe soil salinity due to the invasion of seawater as a result of climate change. Many farmers can no longer grow rice, becoming victims of climate change. The bridge offers new hope for these people, as it brings about easier travel service and economic opportunities. Many of the farmers have turned to fishing and crab farming. Previously, transporting crabs across the river took several hours under scorching temperatures, often resulting in high mortality rates of the crabs. Now, these issues have been resolved, as the bridge reduces travel time across the river to just 10 minutes, thus improving local incomes and living standards. The bridge has also boosted tourism and other economic activity in the region. The southwestern region is home to a beautiful tropical mangrove forest, which attracts visitors from Dhaka and beyond.
Galib adds that the bridge will serve as a long-standing symbol of friendship and cooperation between China and Bangladesh.
The bridge has alleviated the fears of families who previously lost loved ones in ferry accidents. They no longer have to worry about their family members' safety when traveling to Dhaka. This peace of mind is a direct result of the bridge built by China. The Padma Bridge will stand for decades or even 100 years. Every time people see the bridge, they will remember China's contribution and feel grateful.
For Galib himself, he is grateful that he has witnessed firsthand the development of China over the past 20+ years. His hard work, persistence and wisdom have made his academic journey in China smooth. Between 2002 and 2015, he finished his undergraduate, then graduate and lastly doctorate studies at Wuhan University of Technology. The subjects he studied and researched include business administration, international marketing and international relations. He is now a faculty member at the university's School of Marxism and heads the Research Center for Cross-Cultural Communication and the Belt and Road Initiative. His research focuses on policies related to the Belt and Road Initiative, as well as international relations and politics. As a scholar, he is particularly interested in how China's institutional system has contributed to its infrastructure development and believes that more foreign scholars should study this aspect.
I have been paying attention to the two sessions on current affairs of China since 2006 or 2007, when I was a postgraduate. For me, I was invited twice in recent years by the Hubei provincial government to attend the provincial 2 sessions and listen to the provincial government work report. This is an honor for me. But more importantly, this is a treasured opportunity for me as a scholar from a developing country to observe how China is governed. I think the 2 sessions, being on the national level or the provincial level, is a good window for foreign observers to understand how China has achieved long-term economic and social progress.
The National 2 Sessions are important annual political meetings in China. The Lianghui, as it is known in Chinese, are the annual sessions of the National People's Congress, or NPC, and the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, or CPPCC. The NPC is China's top legislature, and the CPPCC is the country's top political advisory body. The meetings usually take place in early March and last for about a week. During the 2 sessions, thousands of national lawmakers and political advisors gather in Beijing to discuss issues related to every aspect of China's development and people's well-being. The provincial level 2 sessions, usually taking place in January, functions similarly to the national ones, but deals only with the affairs of a provincial level administrative region. From being a teenage student to a middle-aged scholar, Galib considers himself to have grown up in China and says the country has shaped his vision about his life and the world. He believes his unique experience allows him to serve as a bridge between the developing world and China, telling accurate and compelling stories about the country to his students and people from across the world. On campus, Galib teaches a course titled Understanding Wuhan, the Industry of a Great Nation, which is very popular among his students who come from both China and abroad. The course traces the history of Wuhan and its modern industrial development, aiming to illustrate the broader progress of China through the lens of one city's growth. The course has been recognized by China's Ministry of Education as an exemplary one of its kind. With no doubt, teaching this course is a challenge even for a teacher rich in experience and diligent in research. But as a foreign scholar, he brings a special perspective to it.
我基本上每天都会看相关的一些报纸啊。
Every day I read newspapers, news reports about government policies and activities, and articles by renowned Chinese experts. In addition to my native Bengali, I am fluent in several languages, including Chinese. This capacity allows me to communicate seamlessly with Chinese people and read Chinese materials directly. So I educate myself every day so that I can provide accurate information to my students. Moreover, I have lived in rural China and have first-hand experience with poverty alleviation and rural revitalization. So I can incorporate these experiences into my teaching to make my classes more engaging.
Always keeping abreast of the times and trends, the scholar tries to be on the front line to understand and explain the new terms and new phenomena appearing in China.
我做个例子啊，新质生产力。
For example, the concept of new quality productive forces is new and unfamiliar for many foreigners. They wonder if there are old quality productive forces and how traditional production methods and our daily lives might change with the advent of AI and big data. These are practical questions that need to be studied and addressed.
The term new quality productive forces was first put forward by Chinese President Xi Jinping in September 2023. The scholar notes that new quality productive forces feature high tech, high efficiency, and high quality in the growth of industries and economy. They are driven by revolutionary technological breakthroughs, innovative allocation of production factors, and deep industrial transformation and upgrading. Having spent more time in China than in his home country, Galib is deeply grateful to the East Asian nation and considers himself fortunate. Beyond teaching and researching, he is actively involved in international academic exchanges and has published articles in renowned international journals. Through his efforts, the scholar says he hopes to tell China's remarkable story to the world.
孟加拉国现在有接近2亿人，在这么多人里面他当初选择我。
With a population of nearly 200 million, Bangladesh selected only 2 students to study in China, and I was one of them. I feel lucky and often say it was fate that brought us together. China invited me to study, offering me a supportive environment for learning and growth. It has also showered me with love and tolerance. With no doubt, I have developed deep affection for China. Of course, I'm from Bangladesh. I think I am able and willing to present what in my eyes a credible, respectable, and lovable China to the world.
可信、可爱的中国的一面，我可以传播出去。
With that, we conclude this edition of Footprints. Thanks for listening. I'm Bob Jones. If you're interested in hearing more about the lives of ordinary but incredible people in China, follow us on your favorite podcast platforms. Just key in Footprints and you can find more stories anytime, anywhere. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.